Bark reckless.
I congratulate the Honourable Member for West Dunbartonshire and honourable members across the House for the excellent maiden speeches which we've heard today. Mr Deputy Speaker, I must thank you for recognising me for this maiden speech. It is, after all, 5 years since my predecessor, Bob Marshall-Andrews, took to the airwaves to concede defeat. Now, many honourable members may have heard him admit defeat on that occasion. Not all will have heard him make later what has variously been described as an Al Gore-style retraction or a Lazarus-like recovery. Now, Bob Marshall-Andrews represented the constituents of Medway for 13 years, highly ably, and holding the government to account throughout that period. Now, during that time, he faced a pincer attack from my own campaign, but also from his front bench. Now, on one occasion, I think that the Labour whips were so keen to assist my campaign that they leaked the fact that they'd given him permission to undertake legal work in Hong Kong for several weeks while Parliament was sitting. Now, these things are always opaque, but I understand this was in retaliation for Mr Marshall-Andrews having auctioned a series of whips letters to recalcitrant MPs to raise money for the campaign group. Now, Bob Marshall-Andrews had a number of great successes. He defended the right to trial by jury. I'm delighted to see my honourable friend Felicia and Walton take up that cause this evening. He helped prevent the extension of detention without trial, and locally he played a major part in bringing the campuses of 4 universities to our constituency. Now, the constituency of Rochester and Strood is the successor to that Medway constituency. It contains 2 of the 5 Medway towns. Rochester, with its castle and cathedral, was and should again be a city. Strood, its proud neighbour over the River Medway, grew in the patriotic fervour of the Boer War, along with the Chatham Dockyard, and that is recorded in street names such as Gordon, Kitchener, and Cecil. The constituency also contains the historic dockyard of Chatham, which built and served our navy from before the time of Pepys to Nelson's HMS Victory to the Falklands conflict. Now, we are proud of that heritage, but we are also proud that 25 years on, we have recovered from the closure of that dockyard. The constituency is 2/3 urban, but also 1/3 rural, and we have the Hoo Peninsula between the rivers Medway and Thames, which stretches from Grain to Cliff, and where we saw off the threat of an airport twice the size of Heathrow. The constituency also contains the North Downs villages of Cuxton and Horling. Now, in terms of the substance of the debate tonight, I should declare an interest, because I'm a member of the Kent Police Authority. However, on occasion, turkeys do vote for Christmas. And I would like to welcome the proposals of this coalition to abolish police authorities and to replace us with directly elected individuals. It must be right that those who exercise the coercive power of the state should be held to account by those whom they serve. That is a progressive cause. It is the cause of for centuries of the parish constable against the remote magistracy. It is the cause of London Labour councils and the South Yorkshire Police Authority through the 80s. It is the cause of the levellers and indeed the diggers, to which my honourable friend Felicia and Walton referred earlier. However, it is a cause today that is represented not on that side of this House, but a cause where my right honourable friend for Witney represents not just Burford, but the democratic ideals of the levellers who lost their lives there. Now, I've heard the odd senior police officer oppose these plans, yet there is no suggestion of any intrusion on the Chief Constable's prerogative. The powers which will be transferred are currently the powers of police authorities. Surely the objection is not merely that directly elected individuals will exercise these more effectively than police authorities have to date. We will also codify operational independence. And I would caution that that does not mean that the police should be allowed to get along with things solely as they wish. Now, the Metropolitan Police has a tradition of independence because we have had a concern to guard against them becoming the arm of central government. However, our tripartite system is a compromise between counties where occasionally chief constables would receive instructions, and boroughs where there is a much greater oversight. Indeed, the Borough of Preston, its watch committee, met twice a day, once in the morning to give the chief constable his instructions, and once in the early evening to check that he had carried these out. Now, before I close, I would just like to draw the House's attention to what I consider to be the major trend in policing in the last 25 years, and that is the movement of power from locally appointed and accountable chief constables to an organisation which is both a private company and a trade union with a closed shop. That is the Association of Chief Police Officers, which has grown to dominate the field of policing without sanction of this House. It has its committees, it has its cabinet, it issues instructions to us in Kent on how much we should charge for policing the Faversham Festival or the Maidstone Water Festival. It is right that we should now move and have directly elected police commissioners to rebalance the policing landscape and restore local democracy.
Mark Lezaver. Mr Deputy Speaker, could I congratulate the Honourable Gentleman for Rochester and Strood on his fine maiden speech. I think the practical experience which he's obviously had on police authorities will stand him in good stead in debates in this House on such matters, even though we may not agree on the contents of what he says. And I think as far as his generous tributes to his predecessor are concerned, I'm sure that the Labour whips will hope that he's as loyal to the new government as his predecessor was to the Labour government.